So, man, I'm back talking about my favorite sport. And of course, we're talking about the game of football, and we're actually talking about the greatest cup, the greatest trophy in the game, the Super Bowl, 2025 Super Bowl. So, let's really figure this out. So, who really is gonna win the Super Bowl? That's the question. Who is gonna win the Super Bowl? And you've got the Chiefs that won the Super Bowl last year, and I think they won it the year before as well. And by this point, for the rest of us in the league, man, it's kind of getting like, man, are you just gonna let the Chiefs walk away with the Super Bowl again, man? Like, I know y'all a great team and all that, like y'all a legendary team, and I know Patrick Mahomes is trying to catch Tom Brady and all that, and that's all great and good. But and it might not happen, not clear. But it's kind of getting monotonous in the league, and so ain't you gonna do something about that to the rest of the league? And so the Chiefs are in the running for the Super Bowl, in my view, um, and that's a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing. But I would want some other team. As a football fan, I would want some other team to come out there and fight the Chiefs for the Super Bowl and play them man to man, down for down, and win it fair and square and show us what real football looks like. Because this situation where you got one team just winning everything, um, you know, from Kansas City. Not to say anything bad about their city. I'm sure I'm sure they love their city, but it's not that's really rare in football, and I think it's testament to the Chiefs' greatness, man. And I really like how their dynasty they've really honed it down. They've really figured this out with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey and all the other guys on there. And I know they've lost some of their offensive weapons over the years that helped them win Super Bowls in past times. But like they showed last year, they still got what it takes to win the Super Bowl, man. And you can bring a really great team against them, and they're gonna make short work of it, or it might go into a really tense fourth quarter or even overtime, but they're able to put together and win. And so, I think you have to give a lot of respect to the Chiefs. Nothing bad with that. Like, the really great football teams, um, like, the legendary New England Patriots teams with Tom Brady that won so many Super Bowls. They were kind of like that. They really knew how to dominate, had a great system, and so really consistent at winning and really tough to beat. Like, and it gets to the point where it gets monotonous, and the rest of the league hates them. But that's just testament to how good they are, right? It's kind of like when Michael Jordan was playing with the Bulls. It got to the point where everybody kind of hated the Bulls just because of how dominant they were. And I feel like the Chiefs have kind of done that. So it's easy to hate them, but we gotta respect them, guys. They have earned that. They didn't get handed that by anybody. They had to work for it, and it wasn't always obvious that you could do that from Kansas City, because it's not seen as like the biggest sports market, right? It's not seen as like this gigantic sport. It's not like LA with like the Rams, or even New England with the Patriots, or the really big markets like New York with the Giants, or down in Dallas with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, who these days can't seem to come close to a Super Bowl. but so you got the Chiefs, but they're not my favorite team to win, in terms of the team that I would want to win. But they are definitely like a big threat. And I think a lot of the analysts are probably gonna be saying like the Chiefs are like the team to beat this year, and I wouldn't argue against that. So you gotta put the Chiefs in position, probably in pole position. Now, of the other teams in the conference finals, now you've got the Eagles versus the Washington Commanders, and that's really wild, man. I wasn't expecting the Washington Commanders to boot out the Detroit Lions, who were my own favorite pick going into this whole postseason playoffs. Like I was really rooting for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. Really loved that team, but obviously they got surprise defeated by the Washington Commanders, and all of a sudden I had to scramble, and people were scrambling like to really understand the Washington Commanders, like just how far can this team go? And I think they beat Tampa Bay uh, uh, in the wild card, and then now they beat the number one seed Detroit Lions in the conference in the divisional round, and now going up against the Eagles. Now the Eagles are a great team. You remember a couple years back when the Eagles were leading the entire league, and we all thought again that they were really gonna win the Super Bowl that time. It didn't happen, and now here they are again, going into the conference championship. And so my own pick from that game is that it's gonna be the Eagles that beat the Washington Commanders. I know the Washington Commanders have shown an unbelievable defense that can grab interceptions at will and can force turnovers and really ruffle the offense and put the quarterback off his rhythm, and things like that, which is great. That's what you want if you are playing defense. You want to be able to disturb the the opposite team's game plan, so that you can bring your own offense on, so you can actually score touchdowns and win the Super Bowl, win the game. So that's really great. They got that. But the Eagles, I think they've got a bit better pedigree over the last 3, 4, 5 years. They are a team that's been knocking on the Super Bowl um, for a while now. Kind of like how the Chiefs have been winning, you kind of gotta be consistent. And the Eagles have been probably the most consistent team at being great at football over the last several years, just without being able to win, right? Not being able to win the Super Bowl. So they're gonna be a big threat, guys. The Eagles are gonna be a massive threat. If they get to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, I'm sure they're gonna want to win it this time. I'm sure they're not gonna want to let Mahomes get away with it again this time. This time around, like it's gonna be do or die for the Eagles, because I'm sure they're gonna know they're gonna have some pretty crazy Philadelphia sports fans that are not gonna be happy with anything less than a Super Bowl. And that's the way it should be when we're talking about the Super Bowl, is you gotta go in and win the big game. And then you can make your excuses after you bring the cup back home and the victory parade is on. And then you can say, I'm tired, I need an energy drink, I need some champagne, and, and you're going down the victory parade, and you can make all your excuses and chill back in the back of the parade bus, tour bus, and kind of get your rest that way. And you can call in sick the next day and say, I ain't coming into work, I ain't coming into training because I gotta recover, I'm sick, I'm ill, because now the Super Bowl is done and you won it. That's a good time to make excuses. But playing in the Super Bowl, No excuses accepted in Philadelphia, and I'm glad for that. So the Eagles might really be the team to beat the Chiefs if they turn up in the Super Bowl. So that's who I have going um, into the Super Bowl on that side of the in that conference. Is they're gonna beat the Washington Commanders. Now here's the thing. This is the game of football. Even a team that was lowly ranked coming into the playoffs, like the Commanders, can pull off upsets. Like, look at them. They beat the #1 seed, my team, the Detroit Lions. I was really disappointed. But if they can turn up big again and beat the Eagles, hopefully by a big margin, so now we know that the Commanders are a really strong team. And then if they turn up in the Super Bowl and they send Mahomes and Kelsey and the Kansas City Chiefs packing and snatch that Super Bowl from them, hey, I'm not going to be a sad man at all. I'm going to be saying, wow, that was some football. That would be an unbelievable match, but that's happened. In fact, I think it's happened fairly consistently in Super Bowl history, where a team that went in lowly ranked in the wild card actually just managed to play all the big teams way out of the water. And you gotta have a great defense to be able to pull off that kind of trick, because if you only have a great offense, like pretty much everybody in the playoffs is gonna have an offense of some kind. And so you gotta have a few extra tricks up your sleeve. Like your defense can't let you down. Those guys can't go to sleep. If your defense goes to sleep, assuming your offense is consistent, like you need everything consistent, right? Like you need everybody pulling together. You need a whole team effort. And so that's where some lowly ranked Super Bowl teams have done really well. Like you've seen some teams are being able to do things like that and go from being a low-ranked wild card team to knocking all the big teams out and winning the Super Bowl. And that's just amazing when it happens. Will it happen with the Commanders? In this official update, I'm going to say I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Eagles are going to win that matchup just because I think the odds are on the side of the Eagles. But hey, I'm not going to be all sad if the opposite happens. I'm going to think like this is good for football. Like this Washington Commanders team really could do something. But then if they then go off to flop in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, I'm not going to be happy. Now, the Chiefs do face the Buffalo Bills in the conference championship, in their own conference. And so that game is not necessarily a guaranteed Chiefs win either, because this Buffalo Bills team was just able to beat Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, which is a great win. And you know, I've been saying for a while that hey, Lamar Jackson has been rated pretty highly in the league, you know, MVP type guy. But I've been saying there are some kind of struggles, right, in the off season. And every quarterback, like look at Jared Goff, like he threw multiple interceptions in the big game against the Commanders. So that happens to any great quarterback, where you get into the postseason, anything can happen, and then people are gonna blame you, the quarterback, because you're the one that's taking every snap. So you're gonna get blamed. So maybe it's not all on Lamar Jackson. But I wasn't betting on the Baltimore Ravens to go all the way to the Super Bowl and win. So I wasn't very surprised at all when they lost to the Bills. In fact, I thought the Bills should win that matchup. Josh Allen and the Bills should be able to win that matchup. Now, it wasn't by a huge margin, which shows you just how close that was. And maybe that tells you that the Bills might not even be nearly that strong, that maybe in the matchup against the Chiefs, the Bills really are gonna go down. But for the sake of football, I do hope that it goes the Bills' way. And I know the Bills have been hoping for a Super Bowl for a long time, and they've been playing well the last 5 years, just like the Eagles, but not as good as the Eagles. Uh, but I do hope the Bills get a chance also at winning the Super Bowl, because they've been very consistent, just falling short in this kind of game, whether it's the conference championship or in the divisional round. They've been falling short. And I think part of it was a lack of playoff experience. But now by this point, Josh Allen and these guys have plenty of playoff experience. Um, but are they gonna be angry enough now that they're gonna stick with the Chiefs, whatever it takes, and knock them out so they can go to the Super Bowl and face off against the Eagles or the Commanders and win that Super Bowl? So it remains to be seen. So here's gonna be my predictions: is that the conference championship with the Eagles versus the Commanders, I take the Eagles. I think the Eagles should be able to come out of that. And conference championship, Chiefs versus Bills. The easy call would be to take the Chiefs because, hey, statistically, that's who should come out of that matchup. But I'm gonna take the Bills, more so out of hope than out of analysis. Because hey, let's face it, they're likely to be rolled by the Chiefs. But let's pretend and hope that maybe the Chiefs have an off day, so you get Bills win by a point or two on a field goal. Maybe in overtime. Lucky tip, and they get the ball within range and get a field goal. So a Super Bowl matchup between the Bills and the Eagles, man, you can't lose that. That's good for football, man, because the Super Bowl either comes to Buffalo for the first time in a long, long time, or the Super Bowl goes to Philly, where the fans are definitely gonna appreciate it. Like the fans in Philly, they are mad for sports. So that's always gonna be great for the sport. That's always gonna be great for football culture if the Super Bowl goes to Philly for the first time again in a long time, or it goes to Buffalo, where it's gonna be even more special because it's a city that doesn't always get Detroit doesn't always get the best of everything. And so they're gonna, whether that's economically or just in pop culture, it doesn't seem like too much else is happening in Detroit. So that Super Bowl would really mean a lot for that city. Now, if it did come down to Eagles versus Buffalo Bills, I would have to go with Buffalo Bills. By the way, sorry there when I talk about Detroit, that would have been a big deal. But same thing with Buffalo, man. It's one of those cities like Detroit that kind of has been worn down, and it doesn't seem like too much is happening in Buffalo or Detroit, or Cleveland, Ohio, these kinds of cities. So a big sports win, Super Bowl win, I think is gonna be really heartily appreciated in Buffalo. It's gonna mean a lot for that city, and it's gonna be great for the sport of football. Kind of like this, the Chiefs becoming a great football dynasty in the first place, like a city that you wouldn't expect to become this great giant winner in the game, right? And they just become the most winning city in the game. And so, as much as people dislike the Chiefs, I think it's actually been great for the game of football. It's actually been great. It's showing you that anybody can win, any city can win, any region can win. And so, if that Super Bowl were to land up in Buffalo, man, we'd be ready to celebrate the Super Bowl with a whole lot of fun and you better break them out, those Buffalo Wild Wings. That's what I got for you. So let's hope for a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl win.